Hi, Gerhard Bloom, once again looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So, okay, I hear lots of people talking to me, on the various social media platforms. Yeah, acknowledging Hamas's war crimes, but what about Israel's war crimes? This is a betrayal of some deep confusion here. The loss of innocent lives does not automatically equate to a war crime. If that were the case, the bombing of Dresden, Hamburg, Berlin, Hiroshima, Tokyo, Nagasaki, where scores of innocent people, including little babies, were killed. They were not deliberately targeted for death. Unlike, the little babies in cribs killed by Hamas on October 7th, the rape, torture, and murder of innocent civilians, that is a war crime. And so is taking civilians as hostages. So no, not war crimes. Tragic, loss of innocent lives in Palestine, I get that. And it bothers me. But Hamas needs to be destroyed. Recently, yes, video from Al-Shifa Hospital. Oh no, it's a civilian site, it's a hospital. It's protected by war, the laws of war. It loses its status as a protected facility when it's used in military operations. Well, video shows you Hamas murderous thugs dragging hostages into Al-Shifa dressed as orderlies with weapons slung over their shoulders. Oh, maybe they're actually hospital orderlies carrying weapons to protect themselves. You can't do that. If you're a medic in the military, you can't carry a weapon. Right? It's against international law. And no, those faux orderlies were Hamas fighters. Otherwise, they wouldn't be dragging, helpless Israeli civilians through that hospital to be kept there with their lives hanging in the balance. And so, yes, collateral damage, it's inevitable, and Israel is doing everything it can. Also in Al-Shifa, weapons caches, and yes, an entrance to the tunnel system that Hamas is employing. And lest you think this is my bias from, because I'm some right-wing, Nazi-adjacent fascist. Well, a couple of things on that point. Number one, it's these leftists supporting the genocide of Israelis, from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. That's a call for genocide. And props to Elon Musk for banning that on X. Yep, free exchange of ideas, call for genocide, no, you're out. And I have no affiliation, sympathy for neo-Nazi thugs. They're right up there with Hamas in my book for moral monsters. So absolutely not. So here's a report from Amnesty International. This is, nobody ever accused Amnesty International of being, fascist adjacent or, conservative, right? Amnesty International in a paper entitled Palestine, State of Strangling Necks, Abductions, Torture, Summary Killings, and Palestinians by Hamas Forces during the 2014 Gaza-Israeli conflict. That's right. The abduction, torture, summary killings of Palestinians by Hamas. So during their conflict in 2014 with Israel, they took the opportunity to engage in committed serious human rights abuses, abductions, torture, summary, and extrajudicial executions with impunity, right? This in the 2014 conflict. And recently, there's been an announcement that they are very close to negotiating a hostage release, perhaps as many as 50 of these hostages, little babies. Indications are it might be children. There's an American little boy, a little girl, 3-year-old, I believe it's a little boy. Yes, his parents killed, right, by Hamas. He may be getting released. Now, if I was somebody who had a relative there, I would be praying for this hostage release. and praying that my loved one was being released. But I think this is a very bad deal. There are several problems. Number one, it's going to be a 3-to-1 exchange, reportedly, right? So, 150 Palestinians, these people, they're not little babies being released by the Israelis. Israel doesn't capture little babies and hold them hostages. So no. And there may be juveniles amongst them. There's reports of children having, as young as 10 years old, having accompanied the Hamas killers into Israel on the day of the slaughters, running around laughing like it's a day at Disneyland. This is what the Palestinians expose their children to. So yes, it might be juveniles being released by Israel, but they're certainly not little innocent children. No. And furthermore, the problem is during the exchange, reportedly, 5 prisoners a day, 10 prisoners a day for as many as 5 days. And Israel will be disallowed from using its overhead drones for surveillance. So, of course, Hamas fighters, these murderous thugs, they're going to be rearming, resupplying, and redeploying. This will make the conflict drag on even longer, right? Israel is exerting a tremendous amount of pressure. The idea in these operations, undoubtedly, is to disrupt lines of communication and resupply to keep the enemy on the back foot. So allowing Hamas to rearm, resupply, and redeploy, this will drag the conflict on longer, which means more innocent Palestinian lives will be lost, not less. And this will still allow the Hamas to keep almost 200 hostages still being held hostage. So it doesn't solve the hostage problem at all. I think at the bottom of this is not international pressure. This is pressure from Biden and his administration. Why? Because the leftists and his party are shouting at him for a ceasefire. So he knows, Hamas has got to go, so he's trying to placate them to split the difference down the middle. He is not going to win over the radical left who want a ceasefire. These leftists don't realize that there had actually been a ceasefire. It was called before October 6th. There was a ceasefire in place. No occupation of Gaza. Gaza was run by Hamas. Oh, and I didn't mention that in that Amnesty International report, the summary executions and extrajudicial murders, Fatah. Yes, Hamas took the opportunity to take out its political rival, Fatah, right? Lined them up and shot them. Yep, get them right out of the way. So doing absolutely nobody any favors. And then, as day 4 goes into day 5, mounting international pressure, mounting pressure on Joe Biden to say, hey, look, what's wrong with this peace? Give peace a chance. Like I say, Israel gave peace a chance. We saw how that worked out for them. So they'll be mounting pressure, and Joe Biden, he is, deflating like a souffle in the oven, right? Absolutely awful. It's not doing Israel any favor, and it's not doing the Palestinians any favors. Although, as I mentioned in a previous video, there is a huge amount of support for Hamas. I don't care. Yes, I abhor the innocent loss of life. You support Hamas, I don't care if you get killed. I just don't care. People desecrating that body, the bodies of the dead that were brought in from Israel. That raped and murdered woman, people spitting on her body and hitting the body with sticks. I don't care if they get killed. They got it coming. But yes, little innocent babies in Al-Shafa Hospital, awful. But if you saw the previous video, Israeli forces brought in Arab speakers. They brought in portable incubators. They brought in brought in fuel, and the officials at Al-Shifa Hospital, no, we don't want to give Israel credit. Now, I don't know if the official at Al-Shifa Hospital had a gun to his head, metaphorically or not, but it was refused. So those deaths, that's on Hamas as well. But yes, tragic, innocent loss of life. So war crimes from Israel? Where? Where are the war crimes? And the war crimes on Hamas's side started on October 7th, and they continue. Using those orderlies, fighters disguised as orderly, war crime. Using the hospital and mosques and schools, protected sites to further their militant ends, war crimes. The slaughter in Israel on October 7th, war crimes. All of it, every little bit of it. Anyway, so no, stop the nonsense. Israel's the good guy here. It doesn't get any less ambiguous than that. There's a good guy here, that's Israel, and the bad guy here is Hamas and its supporters. Anyways, thank you so much for your time and attention. And yes, do check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. You are being lied to by the media, and not by me. And check out the book. I deconstruct this poisonous ideology from Black Lives Matter and the oppression narrative, this whole radical sex and gender ideology. And yes, Islam, a religion of peace, you have to be deluded. A 1,400-year horror show. Beheadings, mass executions, and sex slaves. And it all started with the Prophet. Anyways, thanks so much for your time and attention. Yes, the book's important, not because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues could not be more important. Thanks so much for your time and attention now. Bye-bye.